Hi friends, today I am excited to present BK Beauty's newly released Core Complexion Trio. At the time of filming, it will have dropped today on bkbeauty.com and will also be available on their TikTok shop. But alas, I was at Maddie's house when these were delivered and taking the time now. Thank you BK Beauty, the team over there, for sending this gift. I was happy to share because exciting to see that we have new shapes that are inspired by shapes already existing in the BK Beauty brush collection. If you don't know BK Beauty, it is a brand started by Lisa J here on YouTube. Thank you Lisa J again for the gift. And ever since she dropped 101, the beautiful contour foundation brush, which is classic BK Beauty. If you don't know about this brush, well, you know now. I think when people think foundation brushes, this one immediately comes to mind. If not this one, but a shape like it for sure. It's dense, thick, it has a wide surface area, which ensures that efficiency when applying foundation. And for this Core Complexion Trio, we have 3 brushes currently retailing again as a set for $95, but will release as singles next year. So the set is only available if you like one out of the 3. Unfortunately, you will have to buy the entire set, but I wanted to run down the gamut of 3 brushes. We have 115, 116, and 114. We'll first start off with 115, the medium contoured foundation brush, designed to fill the size between our fan favorite 109 and 101 brushes. This brush offers full coverage with slightly denser fibers while maintaining just the right amount of flexibility. Ideal for liquid or cream foundations, it helps maximize coverage effortlessly. And I'll show these side by side. Here is the classic 101. Here is the smaller 109, and now we have our beloved 115 right down the middle. You can immediately see that 115, yes, smaller, but also as the description outlined, shorter bristles. And here on the demo, I use this brush to blend out my LYS Skin Tint foundation as well as the Danessa Myricks Serum Skin Tint. Talk about efficiency. And I had already expected that outcome, knowing how my experience has been with 101 and 109. 115 is exceptional in getting foundation blended in a flash. Because of the shorter bristle, I think it just feels more plush. There's a little bit of flexibility there, but you can see on the demo that I typically just use that kind of strike down technique when blending out my foundation, which I'm fine with. But the wide surface area ensures that your foundation will be blended quickly, especially if you're one to not want to spend time applying foundation, blending it in. It's funny when I think about makeup artists versus beauty enthusiasts as myself, or maybe just people who put on makeup because they have to. They're not ones to, or sometimes myself, I don't want to spend all day blending out my foundation, right? Like a lot of celebrity makeup artists do. They'll just spend tons of time in making sure their foundation appears flawless, which, yes, understandably so. They're going to be photographed, they're going to be videoed. But for us, and especially for me, I just want the foundation to be slapped on quickly. And this is exactly what 115 delivers. And it is soft like all BK Beauty brushes are, especially their denser foundation brushes. And I do appreciate the smaller size because 101, as great as it is, this is a big brush and one that you would probably rely on if foundation is the first step. If you haven't done your eyebrows yet, if you haven't done the eyes yet, right, you could just get all over your face quickly. But if you wanted a little more, just a little more precision, but also a little more efficiency, because 109 is fantastic, I would argue, for a foundation application as well. But you see, it's a lot smaller, it's not as dense. I think this ideal for cream application from bronzer, for blush, even some cream highlight if you wanted. But 115, if you're eyeing 101 and you're like, I like it, I understand why it's goated, but it's too big, or if you looked at 109, you're like, well, that's too small, then 115 will be your brush. Again, it is sold in a set because what we have up next, 116, the small round foundation brush, little sister to Lisa's favorite 106 round foundation brush. This multitasking brush is perfect for applying cream bronzer, contour, and blush. After hearing feedback from our community that they love the 106 for cream product applications and wanted something slightly smaller, we decided to create the perfect brush with added precision. The new 116 against the old 106. 106, fantastic for foundation application as well, but more of a circular approach in regard to their technique, right? With the 115, you're gonna go in for the pounce and the paint down. 116, you're gonna go in for the swirl and twirl. And I get how one would prefer that method, right? Because when you're swirling and twirling, will be ensured that your foundation will appear polished. But you saw in the footage how polished my foundation appeared when using the 115, right? Even though I'm pouncing on and not swirling and twirling, 115 is dense enough to leave behind a polished, buff look to the skin after foundation application. 116, I think fantastic also if you wanted to swirl and twirl, but as the description outlined, primarily designed to address the cream cheek category, right? Because compared to the 106, 106, even though the brush size is similar, a little bigger from 106, but you see 116 slightly shorter bristles, which is going to, again, a little more density and a little more of that pounce effect where you're going to get a little more bend from 106, where I find 106 might be more ideal for the swirl and twirl. 116 is going to be fantastic for the pounce because you see it's not going to have the same amount of bend, right? That will be more precise. And here I applied the Simi Haze Beauty Cream. I think it's their cream bronzer in Oak on one side, and I followed up with Oryx Mirage Shift Bronzer Cream on the other. 116 is fantastic because of its density. It's going to have phenomenal product pickup, but you can see how the product just blends effortlessly when in contact with my cheekbone. It enveloped the space, it distributed the product smoothly and evenly, and you can see on the close-ups on top of my foundation application how the makeup does not appear heavy or textured on the skin despite the blemishes that I have underneath. And on the other side for the Mirage Shift, I like how it appeared to be more of like a watercolor effect because that bronzer is a truer bronzer color than the Simi Haze Beauty, which is more leaning contour for me, more of a sculpt moment there. 116, I think fantastic. And then we move into the cream blush application where I applied the Mirage Shift Sand Blush shade on both sides. This was fantastic. I mean, even though the brush, I would say small to medium, it applied my cream blush in a flash. And the way it did without moving my foundation, without moving the Simi Haze or the Mirage Shift cream bronzer color, or I should say product, there was no unevenness, there was no patchiness left behind. You have smooth, even application from all products, the foundation, the cream bronzer blush, or I should say cream bronzer contour, cream blush, fantastic. And you have already probably seen my concealer on already. It's because we go now to the 114, the dual-sided concealer brush, a multitasking essential. This dual-sided brush is perfect for applying, blending, and setting concealer. Use the lighter fibers for seamless application of liquid cream concealer and the darker fibers to set with powder for a smooth finish. I couldn't help but think that the 114 was inspired by the Nikki LaRose collab N17 brush. You could see the N17 is larger, but one side you have the lighter fibers and on the other you have the darker. The new 114 is more of a pronounced triangular shape, and the lighter side you can see here has a little more density. You can see that there's more of a tiering here from the bottom, whereas on the darker side the bristles start a little higher here. So on the demo, I used this brush to apply, or rather blend out, my Danessa Lift and Fix concealer. And it's fantastic. The triangular pointed shape ensures that I get right in under my lash line precisely to blend out my concealer. Now you're probably thinking, well, I do love the BK Beauty 110 for concealer application. It's round domed, and I think this might be more suitable, as I have heard the brand refer to this brush as a beauty blender on a stick, right? If you like to apply a ton of concealer and you need the brush to be denser than the 114 to pick up that excess product, then maybe 110 you could stick with. But I like 114 for someone like myself who doesn't apply a ton of concealer, to just gently blend here under the eyes and leave behind a smooth finish. And just for kicks, I wanted to experiment with the dark fibers and seeing how it blended concealer, and it's not going to be, it's just too flimsy of a side, and that was expected, right? Because the brand had specified that this side is designed for powder application, which I did in applying my product setting powder, my rebalancing setting powder, and I think the other powder side picks up the product well. It dabs it on there evenly and lightly. I like the fact that it doesn't pick up a ton of product, because I don't like a ton of powder under my eyes, nor do I like it to gather between my brows or here around my nostrils where there's a little more texture. So I think the size of the 114 and the fact that it's dual-sided is fantastic, because the lighter fiber side is, I think, dense enough to blend out a light serving of concealer. And perhaps more precisely here, maybe you don't want to take it all the way to the end of your lash line. Perhaps you want to keep it here on the innermost corners under the eyes, and then use the brush to diffuse the edges down towards the cheeks, where you're left behind just with a textureless finish when it comes to applying concealer. And now that I have the other side, without having to change brushes, I could just dab the powder here on under the eyes where I applied concealer and be done. And I think it's fitting that they call it the Core Complexion Trio, because you have hit all the marks, right? You have a brush, you got two brushes technically for foundation application. You can use either the 115 or the 116. You have the 114 to apply your concealer to blend it out, and then flip to the other side to apply your powder, and you have 116 to get in with the cream cheek products. Oh, and I also failed to mention, I use 114 with my Byredo highlighter stick. Typically, I like to apply highlighter cream products with my fingers, because on my cheekbone area, it tends to be a little more texture than the other areas of my face, and the warmth from my fingertips just helps to judge the product a little bit better, especially if it's shimmer base. But I didn't think the application was bad with the 114 and the highlighter stick. I will still use my fingers, but good to know. If perhaps you didn't have the Byredo stick, but maybe like a liquid like the Dior Star Filter or one of their glow maximizers, their blush toppers, please. That's where I would think having a 114 brush would be more ideal than a fingertip application, right? I could demonstrate that right now. I have my bronze on standby, and what I would do, well, let's see. First, I'll apply this. Let me get my mirror. I'll just do a dot here right on the bottom edge, because this technically is more of a blush for me, right? The other shades that I have, peachy and rosy, may be more suitable for highlighting. But 114 is just remarkable to take that liquid product, that more liquid product, and blend it where needed, right? Where tighter, creamier textures like the Byredo might not be ideal with the 114, although you could get away with it. But using 114 for the liquid application, that the more liquidy products, I think is fantastic. And just to ensure that I don't look too crazy, I'm gonna take a little more here on the bottom of my face. I can't get enough of this glow maximizer. Can you tell? Now, let me do this. We can still stick with the 114 for sure. And you can see how I'm just pouncing it on and around the cheek area like so, but I could also use the 116 and pounce in the same manner. Now you can see 114 is going to give you a little more precision, where the 116 is going to blow out the product more, simply because it's a larger brush, right? And you could always use the 116 for some refinement there, and then go back in with the 115. If you have excess foundation on the brush, you could use that to kind of finish the edges of that application or to take product away, however you want to go about it. So I think this is fantastic and will easily now find its way in my artist kit company bag now, because my goodness, I don't think I could go without using these for a week. Are you kidding me? Let's check out the length. Yes, they're short enough where the artist kit bag does not squash the bristles. Not too bad. I probably will move them in a little tighter towards the center. I think it's fantastic. Now, for someone who owns a lot of fude, that is brush in Japanese, I love a natural hairbrush. But I love natural hairbrushes for powder application, especially with blush and with eyeshadow. When it comes to liquid and cream products, I think synthetic brushes are best, especially if you're a professional, right? They're more resilient. The brushes, yes, makeup professional, super resilient, where you have to wash them more often, and synthetic fibers can take more of a beating than a natural brush can. Now, I do love to use natural brushes sometimes with liquid and creams, 100%. Even better if it's a natural fiber, synthetic fiber hybrid. But I do recognize the huge advantages in using synthetic brushes for your foundation step or for any cream cheek category, cream cheek product, right? I totally get it. And to have these shapes now, I think fantastic. And for me personally, again, I love the 101. 101, you just can't get enough of, but the new 115, to have it in this size, okay, I don't know. I feel I can maneuver around my face quickly and still have a little more precision from this brush size versus the 101. And 116, to just pounce away with the cream products, I think phenomenal. So thank you again, BK Beauty, for sending, and I am an affiliate with the brand. I'll make sure to have those links down below that are affiliated. No cost to you if you decide to use the link to buy any of these brushes. So definitely check it out, and I'll definitely keep you updated on my monthly favorites, because these for sure will be in the monthly favorites for December, 100%, in terms of other products that I use them with, any new discoveries that emerge. So stay tuned for that. And if you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching until the end. Make sure you click the thumbs up to like this video. Consider subscribing if you want to see the December favorites video, and click that notification bell so you are alerted of that upload when it drops. And I will see you on here again next time.